Introduction to Java. Our objectives for this lesson. So the student should be able to, number one, describe the features of Java technology, such as the Java virtual machine, garbage collection, and code security. Then describe the different phases of a Java program. Java background or history. Java was created in the year 1991 by James Gosling and others of the Sun Microsystems. It was initially called Oak in honor of the tree outside Gosling's window. Its name was changed to Java because there was already a language called Oak. The original motivation for Java. So why did they create Java? So the need for a platform-independent language that could be embedded in various consumer electronics. So products like toasters, refrigerators, etc. And one of the first projects developed using Java is a personal handheld remote control named Star 7. At about the same time, the World Wide Web and the Internet were gaining popularity. Gosling and others realized that Java could be used for internet programming. So that is the motivation, or that's the reason why Java now is this technology. So Java background. What is Java technology? So when we say Java technology, there are more or less four things that we'll be talking about. It is a programming language, a development environment, an application environment, and deployment environment. So this will be discussed in the next slides. So Java technology, it is a programming language. So as a programming language, Java can create all kinds of applications that you could create using any conventional programming language. So it is similar to other programming languages like C, basic language, maybe your PHP or other languages. It is also a development environment. As a development environment, excuse me, Java technology provides you with a large suite of tools. So it's a compiler, an interpreter, a documentation generator, and a class file packaging tool, and so on. So especially if you use an IDE, like say for example NetBeans or Eclipse. So you have there the compiler, the interpreter, etc. It is also an application and a runtime environment. So Java technology applications are typically general purpose programs that run on any machine where the Java runtime environment, or the JRE, is installed. So again, the JRE should be installed so that all Java programs will be, we can execute Java programs in any machine as long as the JRE is installed. So there are two main deployment environments. The JRE is supplied by the Java 2 Software Development Kit, or the SDK, contains the complete set of class files for all the Java technology packages, which includes basic language classes, GUI component classes, and so on. So if you're going to install Java in your computer, so maybe the first thing that you'll be installing will be the Java 2 Software Development Kit, or the SDK. The other main deployment environment is on your web browser. Most commercial browsers supply Java technology, interpreter, and runtime environment. But I think this is no longer very popular. The Java applet is no longer popular. But there was a time that this is the in thing. Usually the games in the Yahoo games are developed using Java applets. Now, what are the features of Java? So some features of Java is the Java virtual machine, the garbage collection, and code security, and this will be discussed on the next slides. So the Java virtual machine. The Java virtual machine is an imaginary machine that is implemented by emulating software on a real machine. provides the hardware platform specification to which you compile all Java technology code. The bytecode is a special machine language that can be understood by the Java virtual machine. Independent of any particular computer hardware, so any computer with a Java interpreter can execute the compiled Java program, no matter what type of computer the program was compiled on. Let's say, for example, if you compile the program in a Windows environment, so you can actually run this program in Macintosh OS, or maybe in Linux environment, or in any environment as long as the Java virtual machine is there, because it is a Java virtual machine that interprets the bytecode, not really the operating system. So Java features the garbage collection thread, responsible for freeing any memory that can be freed. This happens automatically during the lifetime of the Java program. So there are programming languages wherein you should deallocate the memory by yourself, but for Java, the freeing of memory is actually automatic. Programmer is freed from the burden of having to deallocate that memory themselves. So if you are familiar with malloc and memory allocation, that's in C language, but here it is done automatically. Java features code security. Code security is attained in Java through the implementation of its Java Runtime environment, so JRE. Run codes compiled for a JVM and performs class loading through the class loader, code verification through the bytecode verifier, and finally code execution. So you don't have to give your Java source code. What we're going to do is only the compiled class, the bytecode class, is what we need to run the program. So the class loader is responsible for loading all classes needed for the Java program. Add security by separating the namespaces for all classes of the local file system from those that are imported from network sources. So there will be no conflicting of names. After loading all the classes, the memory layout of the executable is then determined. This adds protection against unauthorized access to restricted areas of the code, since the memory layout is determined during runtime. Bytecode verifier tests the format of the code fragments and checks the code fragments for illegal code that can violate access rights to objects. So we have this feature also. Next is the phases of a Java program. The following figure describes the process of compiling and executing a Java program. So how do we create a Java program? So from this diagram, you can see that we need an editor, or it is where we type our source code. So once you type your source code, you can save it in your disk, maybe using the file name hello.java. So if the extension is Java, then that means this is just your source code. And then you can compile it with a Java compiler. So you do this only one time, and it will create the bytecode file with this hello.class. So this is already in bytecode format. And if you want to run this program, you only have to run this, not the source code. And this will be interpreted by the Java interpreter. So every time you want to run this, you just run this program, the class, the bytecode. So we have the Java interpreter. So these are the phases of the Java program. So another look at the phases. So we write the program, and what do we use? We need any text editor. Or if you have an IDE, then usually the IDE contains the editor itself. And what will be our output? A file with the .java extension. Then what's next? We compile the program. So what do we need? We need the Java compiler. And the output will be file with .class extension, or these are what we call the Java bytecodes. And if we run the program, we need the Java interpreter. And the output here is of course the output of the program. And that's it. So for the summary, we have the Java background. So we have known about the history of Java. So again, it was by James Gosling, used for embedded, etc. Then the Java technology. So we've discussed it's a programming language, the development environment, it's an application environment, and deployment environment. And the Java features like the Java virtual machine, the garbage collection, and code security. And then lastly, on the last part of this lecture, we have the phases of the program. So how do we create a Java program? We write the code, we compile the code into bytecode, and then we execute the program using the Java interpreter. So thank you very much for watching this video.